Well, look, maybe you are trapped in a world you never made, but I got problems of my own. You know, my whole career is falling apart.
Your career? What about my life?
Hollywood's a tough game, and sometimes one bad movie is all it takes to crash a career. These 12 films didn't just flop. They left some of the industry's brightest stars picking up the pieces. From Oscar winners to rising stars, these are the movies that took careers and tossed them straight into the dumpster. Jim Caviezel became a household name after portraying Jesus in Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. It's not like it was a bad movie, far from it. The film was a massive success, grossing over $612 million worldwide on a budget of just $30 million. But for Caviezel, the role came with a cost. Despite the film's monumental success, his career never returned to the heights it reached in the late 90s with films like The Thin Red Line and G.I. Jane. Post-Passion, he faced a typecasting dilemma, with Hollywood hesitant to cast him in anything outside of religious or smaller-scale projects. While he did make a strong return with Person of Interest, his film career never fully recovered. In the 90s, Cuba Gooding Jr. was riding high with hits like Jerry Maguire and Boys in the Hood, but by 2002, things had taken a nosedive, and Boat Trip was a turning point in the worst way. The film, a cringeworthy, tasteless comedy about two straight guys mistakenly booking a gay cruise, was slammed for its offensive humor and lazy writing. Critics couldn't believe that an Oscar winner would sign on to something so bad, and the backlash nearly torpedoed Gooding's career, leading him to a string of low-budget and forgettable films throughout the 2000s. Jaden Smith seemed to be Hollywood's next big thing after standout performances in The Pursuit of Happiness and The Karate Kid. But then came After Earth, a sci-fi flop starring both Jaden and his father, Will Smith. The film was panned for its wooden acting and uninspired plot, pulling in just $60 million domestically on a $130 million budget. Critics were particularly harsh on Jaden, and the film's failure derailed his promising acting career. Since then, Jaden has focused more on music, stepping away from major film roles. John Carter was supposed to be Disney's next mega franchise, and Taylor Kitsch was poised to become the next big action star. With a budget of over $250 million, it had all the makings of a blockbuster hit. But John Carter famously flopped, pulling in just $73 million at the US box office. Critics hammered the film for its bloated plot and lackluster direction, and it became one of the biggest box office bombs in history. For Kitsch, this failure effectively ruined his career. While he found some success on TV, he never quite reached the A-list status that John Carter was meant to secure for him. Before Sofia Coppola became a celebrated filmmaker in her own right with films like Lost in Translation, she had an ill-fated stint as an actress. Her role in The Godfather Part III, where she replaced Winona Ryder at the last minute, is still infamous. Critics were merciless in their takedown of her performance, calling it wooden and unconvincing. Coppola herself admitted that acting wasn't her passion, and the backlash to Godfather Part III killed her acting career. Despite the film grossing over $136 million worldwide, Coppola's acting days were over. In the late 90s, Rachel Lee Cook was everywhere, thanks to her starring role in She's All That. But then came Josie and the Pussycats, a satirical comedy about the commercialization of pop music. The movie was a box office bomb, making just $14.9 million against a $39 million budget. Critics weren't kind either, roasting it for being too scatterbrained and superficial. While Rosario Dawson and Parker Posey managed to come out unscathed, Cook's career momentum took a massive hit, and she never returned to her previous star power. For a while there, it seemed like Roberto Benigni couldn't do anything wrong as both an actor and filmmaker. Well, that all changed with his 2002 adaptation of Pinocchio, specifically the English dub, which earned a stunning 0% score on Rotten Tomatoes. The backlash was severe, and Benigni's career never truly recovered. He's only appeared in a handful of projects since then. Before Pirates of the Caribbean redefined the pirate genre, Cutthroat Island was supposed to do the same, but instead, it sank faster than a ship in a storm. the film was a colossal box office failure, grossing just $10 million against its $98 million budget. Critics roasted its weak plot and over-the-top action scenes, and it even made it into the Guinness World Records for being the biggest box office bomb of all time. The movie was so toxic it nearly destroyed Modine's career. While he's had a resurgence thanks to Stranger Things, it took decades for him to shake off the cutthroat curse. Gene Hackman has had one of the best careers in Hollywood history, but that all came to an end after the release of Welcome to Mooseport. Hackman, who seems to be living a quiet and reclusive life these days, hasn't been on screen since this 2004 comedy starring Ray Romano. Though not the worst movie ever made, this box office and critical dud didn't do anyone any favors. An 80s movie that has not stood the test of time, Howard the Duck is one of those comic book movies that came out before Hollywood figured things out when it came to the genre. Though Robin Williams jumped ship and salvaged his career, Lea Thompson wasn't as lucky and went through a tough stage before finally rebounding. Nobody expected Freddy Got Fingered to be a cinematic masterpiece, but Tom Green's outrageous attempt at a comedy was more than just a flop. It was a disaster. Released in 2001, the movie tanked at the box office, grossing just $14.3 million against a $14 million budget. Critics tore it apart, calling it tasteless, vulgar, and unwatchable. Roger Ebert famously gave it 0 stars, saying it was as bad as any movie ever made. The film's over-the-top gross-out humor and nonsensical plot didn't just turn audiences off, it effectively ended Tom Green's shot at Hollywood stardom. MTV's prankster-in-chief never got another chance with a big studio budget after this mess.
What do you do?
Me, investments. I do investments, consulting in the business, analyzing stocks, NASDAQ, Dow Jones, Wall Street Journal, New York City, CNN.
Oh, you must be rich.
Yeah.
After breaking out on SNL, Chris Kattan seemed like he might have a shot at movie stardom, but then came Corky Romano in 2001. The film, about a bumbling veterinarian who infiltrates the Mafia, was a comedy dude in every sense of the word. Critics panned it for its juvenile humor and absurd plot. Kattan, who had been riding the wave of Night at the Roxbury, saw his career stall after this flop.